Fear doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to test how badly you want the life you keep praying for. Every time your heart beats faster and your hands shake, it's not a sign of weakness. It's proof that something inside you is waking up. Something that refuses to stay small. Something that knows you were never created to live behind locked doors of doubt and hesitation. Fear has a loud voice, but it has no power of its own. It borrows its strength from your silence, your delays, and your decision to wait for the right time. Fear grows in the dark corners of what ifs and someday, yet it starts shrinking the moment you face it with honesty. You were not born fearless, you were born capable. And capability becomes courage when you decide to move even while your knees are shaking. Destroying fear forever is not about becoming brave overnight. It's about choosing truth over comfort, action over excuses, and faith over imagination. Fear dies when you name it. Fear is powerful only when it remains hidden, unnamed, and unchallenged. The moment fear stays silent inside you, it grows roots in your thoughts and spreads into every decision you try to make. It whispers doubts without introducing itself. It creates hesitation without giving reasons. And it convinces you to pause without explaining why. When fear has no name, it feels larger than life, heavier than truth, and stronger than your will. But the instant you stop running from it and choose to look it in the eye, its power begins to collapse. Because what you can name, you can understand. And what you can understand, you can confront. Naming fear is an act of courage in itself. It means being honest with yourself, without decorating the truth or hiding behind excuses. It means saying, I'm afraid of failing, or I'm afraid of being judged, or I'm afraid of starting again. These words might feel uncomfortable at first, but they carry freedom within them. When you name fear, you pull it out of the shadows and into the light. And fear cannot survive in clarity. Once it is visible, you realize it is not a prophecy, it is only a feeling. And feelings are temporary, not permanent rulers of your destiny. When fear remains unnamed, it controls your behavior silently. It makes you delay important decisions, settle for less than you deserve, and choose safety over growth. You might think you are being patient, realistic, or cautious, but deep down, fear is steering the wheel. Naming fear breaks this silent control. It shifts you from being a victim of emotion to becoming an observer of it. Instead of fear controlling you, you start analyzing it, questioning it, and reducing it to its real size. Most fears, once named, turn out to be exaggerated stories your mind created to protect you from discomfort, not from danger. There is deep power in writing your fears down or speaking them aloud. When fear stays in your mind, it feels endless. But when it comes out in words, it becomes limited. You begin to see patterns, triggers, and false assumptions. You realize that fear is often rooted in past experiences, old wounds, or borrowed opinions that were never yours to begin with. By naming fear, you separate your identity from it. You stop saying, I am afraid, and start saying, I am experiencing fear. And this small shift changes everything, because you are no longer the fear. You are the one observing it. Destroying fear forever does not begin with bravery, it begins with honesty. The courage to name fear is the first crack in its armor. Every time you name it, fear loses another layer of control over your life. You don't need to defeat fear in one moment, you just need to stop hiding from it. The day you name your fear is the day you reclaim your power. Because fear cannot dominate a soul that dares to tell the truth about what it feels and still chooses to move forward. Action is the natural enemy of fear. Fear survives on stillness. It grows stronger when you wait, overthink, and replay the same doubts in your mind. The longer you stay frozen, the louder fear becomes, convincing you that you are not ready, not capable, and not strong enough. Fear does not need proof. It only needs your delay. But the moment you move, even in the smallest way, fear begins to weaken. because action interrupts its narrative. Action does not ask fear for permission. It challenges it by proving that movement is possible even when confidence is missing. You do not overcome fear by thinking your way out of it. You overcome fear by walking through it. Waiting to feel fearless before taking action is a trap that keeps most people stuck for years. Courage is not a feeling that appears magically. It is a result of doing something despite the fear. When you take one small step, your brain gathers evidence that you survived, and this evidence slowly replaces imagination with experience. Each action, no matter how small, becomes a message to your mind that fear is not fatal and hesitation is not necessary. Action changes your relationship with fear. Instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, you begin to see it as a signal that you are stepping out of comfort, stretching beyond the familiar, and entering a space where growth lives. Fear does not mean you are going the wrong way. It often means you are going somewhere important. When you act in spite of fear, you retrain your nervous system to tolerate discomfort. Over time, what once felt terrifying begins to feel manageable, and what felt impossible starts to feel normal. Small actions are powerful because they are sustainable. You do not need a dramatic leap. You need consistent movement. Sending the email you are afraid of, starting the project imperfectly, speaking up even when your voice shakes. All of these actions chip away at fear. Fear hates repetition of action because repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity dissolves fear. With each repeated step, fear loses its authority, and you gain trust in yourself. You begin to realize that strength is not something you wait for, it is something you build. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you rewrite your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who gets stuck and start seeing yourself as someone who moves forward anyway. This shift is powerful because fear is deeply connected to self-image. When you consistently act, even while afraid, your mind updates its belief about who you are. You are no longer the person who freezes, you are the person who shows up. Fear cannot dominate someone who keeps moving because momentum creates belief and belief fuels courage. Destroying fear forever is not about eliminating it. It is about refusing to let it decide your direction. Action does not remove fear instantly, but it shrinks it daily. With every step you take, fear steps back. Eventually, fear becomes background noise instead of a controlling voice. And one day, you look back and realize that fear didn't disappear because you fought it. It disappeared because you outgrew it by choosing action again and again. Pain is temporary. Regret is permanent. Fear often disguises itself as care. It tells you to stay where you are, to avoid risk, to protect yourself from pain. It sounds reasonable, even loving, but underneath that voice is a quiet trap. Fear does not save you from pain, it only postpones it. The pain of discipline, effort, and failure may sting for a moment, but the pain of regret settles deep and stays for years. Regret is heavier because it comes with questions that never leave. Questions like, what if I had tried? And who could I have become if I was braver? Most people do not fear failure. They fear the pain that comes with it. They imagine embarrassment, loss, judgment, and disappointment, and these imagined pains feel unbearable. But pain experienced in reality is often far less damaging than pain imagined in fear. Failure teaches, strengthens, and redirects, while regret only drains. Pain has an expiry date. It fades as you heal and grow, but regret grows louder with time because it feeds on missed opportunities and unlived potential. When you choose comfort over courage, you may feel safe in the moment, but slowly, dissatisfaction creeps in. You begin to feel restless, unfulfilled, and disconnected from yourself. This is the quiet pain of regret forming. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up when you see others living boldly, when you realize time has passed, and when you understand that fear stole chances you can never get back. This pain is harder to heal because it comes with responsibility, the knowledge that you could have chosen differently. Choosing temporary pain is an act of self respect. It means accepting discomfort now to avoid lifelong disappointment later. Growth demands pain, but it rewards you with confidence, wisdom, and self trust. Every time you choose to face discomfort, you tell yourself that your future matters more than your fear. This choice builds resilience because you realize that pain does not break you, it shapes you. You begin to understand that pain is not punishment, it is preparation. Destroying fear forever requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, will this hurt? Start asking, will I regret not doing this? This question cuts through fear's illusion. It brings clarity. When you realize that regret lasts longer than pain, your decisions become bolder. Fear loses its grip because it can no longer threaten you with discomfort. You have already accepted pain as part of growth. And in that acceptance, fear loses its strongest weapon. Your purpose is bigger than your fear. Fear feels overwhelming when life feels meaningless. When you lose sight of your purpose, fear takes center stage and magnifies every obstacle. But the moment you reconnect with why you are here, fear starts shrinking. Purpose gives direction to pain and meaning to struggle. It reminds you that you are not suffering randomly. You are building something important. Fear cannot dominate a heart that is anchored in purpose, because purpose gives you a reason to keep going. Even when things feel heavy, purpose does not eliminate fear, it overpowers it. When you know what you stand for, fear becomes a secondary voice. You still feel it, but it no longer controls you. Purpose turns fear into fuel. It pushes you to act, not because you are fearless, but because what you are fighting for matters more than how you feel. This is where true courage is born, not in the absence of fear, but in loyalty to your mission. Many people struggle with fear because they focus too much on themselves, their image, their comfort, their safety. Purpose shifts your focus outward. It reminds you that your journey is connected to others, that your growth can inspire, heal, or support someone else. When your life becomes bigger than your fears, you stop asking what will happen to me and start asking what will happen if I don't step up. This shift weakens fear at its core. Purpose also gives endurance. Fear gets tired when you keep moving with meaning. On hard days, purpose reminds you why quitting is not an option. It gives you patience when progress is slow and strength when motivation fades. You may feel afraid, but you no longer feel lost. Fear feeds on confusion, but purpose creates clarity, and clarity creates courage. Destroying fear forever requires remembering why you started. When fear rises, return to your purpose. Speak it, write it, visualize it, let it guide your decisions. Fear may try to stop you, but purpose will always pull you forward. And when purpose leads, fear follows quietly behind, no longer in control. Fear ends where faith begins. Faith is not certainty, it is trust in uncertainty. Fear thrives on the unknown, but faith learns to walk through it. When you do not trust life, yourself, or the journey, fear fills the gap with worst-case scenarios. Faith closes that gap. It reminds you that not everything needs to be controlled to work out. Faith is the belief that even if things go wrong, you will find a way through them. This belief weakens fear because fear depends on the idea that you will not survive discomfort. Faith does not mean you stop feeling afraid. It means you stop letting fear decide. It teaches you to move without guarantees, to act without full clarity, and to trust that growth is happening even when results are invisible. Fear demands proof before action. Faith creates action before proof. This difference changes everything. When you act in faith, you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start building strength through experience. Faith also builds inner peace. Fear creates chaos in the mind, endless questions and doubts. Faith simplifies. It reminds you that you are not responsible for every outcome. only for your effort and intention. This release reduces fear's pressure. You stop carrying the weight of the future and focus on the present step. When your mind is calm, fear has no place to shout. Trusting yourself is a form of faith. When you believe that you can adapt, learn, and recover, fear loses its power to paralyze you. You no longer fear failure because you trust your ability to rise again. This self-trust is built through action, honesty, and resilience. Over time, faith becomes stronger than fear, not because fear disappears, but because belief grows. Destroying fear forever does not mean living without doubt. It means living with trust. Trust in your journey, your strength, and the timing of your life. When faith leads, fear steps aside. And slowly, you realize that fear was never meant to stop you. It was meant to test how deeply you believe in yourself and your path. In the end, fear does not disappear in one brave moment. It fades through repeated choices. Every time you name it, move despite it, accept temporary pain, reconnect with your purpose, and choose faith over doubt, you weaken fear's foundation. Fear only feels permanent when you treat it as truth, but the moment you see it as a feeling that passes, you reclaim control. You were never meant to live protected by hesitation. You were meant to grow through courage, shaped by struggle, and strengthened by action taken, even with a shaking heart. Destroying fear forever is not about becoming fearless. It is about becoming free. Free from the need for certainty, free from the approval of others, and free from the illusion that safety equals happiness. When you stop letting fear decide your direction, life opens up in ways you never imagined. You begin to live with intention, move with faith, and trust yourself deeply. And in that space, fear no longer rules. It becomes a reminder of how far you have come and how powerful you truly are.